Hello, good evening, everybody. Hello, people. Good evening. How are you today? Yes, good evening, Obona Vic. Good evening, Ademuyiwa. Good to know. I'm fine too, Deborah. I'm good, people. Okay, welcome to today's session. This is session 8. I suppose people are still in traffic, right? We have not everyone is on the call yet. Yeah. How do we even know if everyone is on the call? How? Analyst in the house. How do we know? How do we know? We have 100 people compared to yesterday's. What does that mean, Vic? Yeah, Yinka 196 people. Yeah, I see that. By a matric number. Oh, so you have matric number, Prof. You can use VLOOKUP, Steven. Hey, wala. I hope you not go and tell your interviewer that if I was the one interviewing you, yeah, you could scale it. But if you tell someone else something like this, I don't know what will be your fate to, bro. True response to your call. Okay. That means someone has to sit on the chat and be counting. If you're gonna go by a response. Can ask AI. Voila. What AI go cause Shadow, don't go and upload your company's data into one AI tool. I beg. Yeah, people are coming on. All right, so welcome, people. Welcome. I hope we had an interesting day today. It's good to be back with us. Today's session 8, and the week is closing out already. Let's go on quickly. Yesterday, we did some things on. We started our conversation around lookup and reference in Excel, and we looked at a couple of things. I want you to quickly go to the chat, everybody, and drop something on the chat from what you learned yesterday. Olayinka learns match, okay? Leo index and match. Yinka VLOOKUP, index, lookup, yeah. Lookup and referencing. That's not a functional, Uncle Fisayo. I'm busy, Madam Fisayo. Please, sir, how can I download Excel on my PC? The current one is outdated. Oh, please search online. You'll find information there. Date div. Yesterday. Nope. Someone is not yet with us. Network didn't allow yesterday. Sorry about that, Damilola. You learned about Excel function, Steven. It's Excel function we have been looking at now. I learned that choose function can do selection. I'm like, excellent. Yeah, just can do that. You finally got how to drag down and get the right answer. Super, Fisayo. That's cool. We'll solve that problem today. You understand it a lot better today. You know the why, all right? Which is one thing that we want to teach. So you don't just do stuff, but you know why you're doing what you're doing. Nesting match and index with number aggregation function. All right. Deborah learned how to use index and match with conditional functions. Oh, it means you tried out the last two exercises, right? People, if you tried out the last two exercises, go on the chat now and type 0. If you tried out the last two exercises, truthfully, not that you only typed equal to and then you now claim you tried it, or no, that's not trying. Okay, I'm beginning to see some zeros. Okay. Not so many people here. Someone typed 1. You see now, that person did not try it out. There's another Uncle Yinka 3701. You also typed a 1. There's another man again. Now only man they type 1. Waiting the sub. You people did not listen to instructions. Someone even typed NA for me. Well, you tried only 1, Esther. Okay. You didn't get the answer. How did you know that you didn't get the answer, Temitope? How? Tell me. How did you know that you didn't get the answer? Not done yet. Skill Up Nation. Skill Up Nation. You did not use AI. You only did 1. Awolola. Okay. All right. But the idea is clear to everyone, right? You know how you could have done it if you had attempted it. Yeah? Anyone has a question around that before we shut up? Yeah, Skill Up Nation. I caught you now. You were the one that said you were going to use AI before. Now you did not use AI for assignment. or your AI was not available. That's why you didn't do the assignment. It was very clear to you, Deborah. Super. It says too many functions. Too many function. Did I read it right? Too many, right? Let me talk. That's what you mean. Someone is just entering the class and they are bold to even say good evening. You are 40 minutes late and you're still saying good evening. Can you help us revise yesterday's last exercise briefly? What's your question specifically, Christiana? Many, okay. You added 3 questions to your questions. Super. That's the way to learn. Well done, Yemisi. Your Excel does not have maxive. Yes, nah. It's not like Excel that we have. We talked about it when we treated maxives. And in the class for conditionals, I told you the alternative. Maybe you missed that class, Olusoji. All right, so let me let me bring up my Excel file so we can. What year Excel are you using? Why are you asking, sir? Uncle Biggest Daddy. Biggest Daddy. I like that name. Biggest Daddy. Okay. So you didn't get the last one. All right. That's not the file we used yesterday. Let me see. What's the file we used yesterday? This one. You want to use it too. You have to pay Microsoft if you want to use my kind of Excel. It's not free. So I'm on Microsoft 365. So if I look at my screen, it says M365 apps for enterprise. That's what I use. And you see the version is here. This is the version 2510. So which is October 2025 version. I'm only some weeks behind. So I'm on October 2025 version of Excel. And it's Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise. So if you would get this product, you will pay Microsoft weekly, monthly rather. Sorry. Okay, so I'll get out of here. Let me see if there's any more question before we start. Someone is just attending the class. Okay, you're welcome, sir. Olashupo, which one be this one now? Which one, eh? Abba now. You added filter to solve the two questions. Yes, that's a good approach. How much is the subscription? Please search online. But I think it depends on the package. You could get one, so that is Microsoft 365 for family, and that might be the best for you to use actually. Microsoft 365 for family, I think it's about 100,000 a year, but 6 people can use it. So 6 of you can come together, pay. It should be around 90 something actually, but put it at 100K. So 6 people come together, pay 100K. So each of you will pay less than 20K for 1 year to have access to Microsoft Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Outlook. Yeah, the basic office tools. That might serve you right. So maybe in your group you can just decide. Someone should run a poll. If you have a few persons who are interested, you can come together in groups of 6, and so you can run that package. That might just serve you right. Yes, kinda. It should be around that. I knew it to be something around 90K, 90 something K, but I just put it at 100K. It's most times billed. It's most times billed in dollars. So the naira equivalent is what you're paying. But it's good that naira is gaining strength. So it probably will be to your advantage as well. Okay, so yeah, let's go into the class today. Yesterday we looked at some lookup functions, and you are just joining. Is there a recap? Check the YouTube channel. That's why it's happening on live on YouTube. So you see all of the previous classes. I believe you should see it, but just check. Yeah, the Lord is your strength. Okay, so we looked at lookup functions yesterday, and I told you that lookup function essentially helps you to get something that you need from somewhere. But for you to get what you need to use what you have, literally. So it's more like you have something, you want to use it to fetch something else. So that's the idea for lookup functions. All right. So for the last two assignments, that's who had the highest score in mathematics. Like I mentioned to you, the idea is the first thing is for you to sort of try to get what is the highest score in mathematics itself. When you get that, we need to try to get the position of that highest score, and then we index it. So we index it to fetch the person's name. So if I come here, I do to get the highest in mathematics. What function would I use for that, people? The highest score in mathematics. What function would I use for that? We don't drop files here. So you've missed a lot of communications. Go and check all your mails. Someone is saying SUMIFs, someone is saying max, someone is saying maxifs. I hope you people will not disappoint me this night. You want to get the highest score in mathematics. Someone even said equal to highest. Hey, Oluwa. Highest score in mathematics. I can even see meanings. God. Hey. Small time now. You people will go now. You go on LinkedIn. You'll be typing. You'll be adding a Excel experts to your LinkedIn bio. If I see anything like that, first thing is to filter. I asked you what function are we to use. You're telling me first thing is to filter. Okay. But people, please pay attention, yeah? One of the skill sets that you need as an analyst is to be able to listen properly. You need to listen well so that whatever is being communicated is clear to you. That's it too, is a stray bullets. So you have to be sure that whatever is being communicated to you is clear before you respond. Don't be quick to respond. Don't be quick to respond. Don't be quick to respond. I'm saying it a third time. Just hold on to that. If in all of this training, that is the only lesson that you want to pick, don't be quick to respond. I think it suffices. You're speaking with your manager, you're speaking with your supervisor, you're speaking with stakeholders in the business. They're asking you some questions. Don't be quick to respond. You are in an interview. The interviewer is asking a question. You did not allow the interviewer to land. You are already showing off that you sabi. Don't be quick to respond, please. All right. So maxif is what we're using. Why can't we use max? We cannot use the max function because we want to implement a condition. So if we want to implement a condition over an aggregation, you would not be using the normal max or the normal mean. So you have to use the maxifs, the minifs, or you go the route of those that do not have the maxifs and the minifs. So now I do maxifs. What is the max range? We want to get the max over these numbers. And then what is the criteria range? That is our subject. What is the criteria itself? Mathematics. So I hit enter, we get 92. So the 92 is the highest in mathematics, which I can see here. So then what I will do is to now match this 92 to get a position of 92 on this list. So I come here, I do a match. This is what I'm matching. The result of the maxifs. I'll put a comma here. Then I would match it over the scores. I do an exact match, close the bracket, hit enter. This tells me that it is on the second position, which already I can see here. And lastly is I'm gonna now index it. So I'll do an index. What do I want to return? That is the array. So I want to return the name. I put a comma. The rest will give me the actual row number. Close the bracket, hit enter, and now we get Adam Wiggins. So we got the highest in mathematics. So that's the idea. And I remember I also mentioned it in one of the classes that Excel data analysis generally is more about thinking than doing. And which is the reason why I'm trying my best to explain, to make you understand what you want to achieve, the route to achieving it, and why we are going that route. I'm taking my time to make you understand all of those so that you don't cram. If you cram it, you will have issues. Okay? And I'm not being negative, I'm just being straightforward. So if you cram it, because you would have crammed it for only one scenario, when you now get to the business context, you are faced with a different scenario. You are wondering, do I know this thing? Whereas you know it, but because you never took the time to understand it properly, that's the reason why you have some doubts with yourself now, whether you know it or you do not. So please just pay attention, learn properly, understand what we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing, and then that should just you should just be fine. So this is the idea. This is how you get this result. Please explain again the Kadir function PL. Maybe they just released this function in Excel. I don't know this function, unfortunately. All right, so let's go. Today we want to take it a step higher. Higher we go, right? And let's begin this way. Please explain again. No, nope. That's about what we did yesterday. I wasn't even supposed to go over it today. Look at what we have here. We've got the employee numbers here, the employee names, I should post the formula. That one is simple to do. So I'll just do this, Control C. I'm gonna put it here for you. We have the employee names. We've got the department here. We've got the grade levels, and we are supposed to populate the salary structure. So what will be this person's basic salary based on their grade level and their roles, their departments in the organization? What will be the housing salary, the transport allowance, leave allowance, the meal allowance, utility, and what will be the eventual gross pay? So now, for us to populate this portion of the table, we have the table we are supposed to use. We have it right below. So this is the table that we are supposed to use, wherein we will get the information to populate all these blank spaces. Quick question to you. What will be the lookup value, or what will be the lookup? Yes, what will be the lookup value for this first guy? For us to be able to fetch the basic salary, housing, and all the other salaries, all the other allowances from this table, what will be the lookup value? Okay, super. The grade level. Excellent. Why are we going to use the grade level? Because the grade level is that thing that we have, which also exists on the table where we want to fetch things from. You just made me happy. So, wherever you live, I believe there will be an Akara joint. So just go there, go collect Akara, 100 naira Akara. That should be fine. Get 100 naira Akara, share the receipt with me. Okay? 100 naira Akara and share the receipt with me. The receipt must say that you bought Akara. Otherwise, don't come to me. Okay, so now let's write our lookup. Let's write our lookup. Equal to VLOOKUP. People will not concentrate again. VLOOKUP, we said the grade level is what we are using as the lookup value. So I'll select the grade level, semi-senior. I'll put a comma. What is the table array? Yes, I didn't go there quickly. This is the table array. I would highlight the entire table like this. And then I'll put a comma. What do we want to return? We want to return the basic salary. So which is this column. So basic salary, basic on this table is the second column. Basic is the second column. So I'm going to put a 2 here and we'll do an exact, excuse me, we do an exact match and I hit enter. We get this back as the basic salary. We did this yesterday, so no issues at all on this. Then I will drag this down a few steps below. And then at a point, you see that we start having issues. Why are we having NAs? Is it that you can't find manager? Nope, because you already saw manager here and he returned something, even though we are not so sure yet if this is correct. But this manager here should have returned something too. What is the issue? What is the problem here? Let us get to it. Once you understand this part that I want to talk about now, this is one of the, when you hear people say that they are able to automate formulas in Excel, they write it once, they drag it left, right, center, all the directions, it's because they understand what we want to do now. But understand the problem. What is the problem? Look at the formula now. Look at the formula. For this one, the area that we highlighted for the table array says C32 to J40. So we highlighted C32 to J40. That's the area that our table array is sitting on. Let's confirm. If I come down here, this is our table array. Let me reduce it a bit. This is our table array. It starts here. I highlighted from here, which is, if you remember cell referencing, I mean the cell address. So this is C32, and this is up to J40. So that's the area we highlighted. So what this is expecting is that our table array that we've highlighted to be C32 to J40 should actually be the same table array across board. But for some reason, when I got here to the next cell, look at the table array. It shifted from C32 to J40. It shifted to C33, J41. When I went a cell downwards, it went a bit down again to C34, J42. And at this point, let's see the table array. The table array is C41 to J49. Let's go and look for C41. What is C41, or where is C41? C41 now is actually outside of the table. So it's more like we did not provide anything as our table array. So that's a problem. But why does this happen? This happens because of one stubborn behavior of Excel. Excel does follow. So if I have something like this, I have A, I have B, and then I have 2, 3, 4, 5, like so. If I come here, and then, or if I come here, for example, and I do equal to this plus this, notice what I'm adding. I'm adding this and this. I hit enter, I get back 5. Learn this trick again. If you want to pull out the formula that is behind this calculation, can come here and use a formula in Excel called formula text. So formula text will return the formula behind a calculation. So you can see it in a cell, the actual formula there. Now you see that for this calculation here, it's referencing C5, which is this cell, plus D5, which is this cell. If I now pull down this calculation, one cell downwards, I got a 9. Where did the 9 come from? The 9 came from the addition of C6 and D6. That's what we got. Now, if I go one cell downwards, I go back is 0. If I come here, Control D, you see now that at this point, we are referencing C7 plus D7. If I double click this, now we are outside of where our data sits. And that's why we go back is 0. So what is happening? By natural behavior of Excel, when you pull down your formula, or you pull your formula to the right, however, whatever direction you pulled it, Excel would also shift the underlying cells that are used in populating that formula. Excel would also shift them accordingly. When we push this calculation downward, you notice that Excel also shifted the reference one cell downwards. And that's why C5 changed to C6, D5 changed to D6. When we went one more cell downwards, C6 became C7, D6 became D7. So that's the natural behavior for Excel. If we had a calculation here that says equal to this guy plus this guy, and I do equal to, I get a 6. If I push this forward, notice what happens. Now the reference has changed from these two guys to these two guys. Why? Because the direction of the movement for the result is now to the right. So the reference to the underlying cells used in the calculation now gets shifted to the right as well. That is the natural behavior of Excel. But the concept around this is what is called cell referencing. What does cell referencing mean? It just means how you want Excel to treat the cells that are used in a calculation. But before I proceed, all these things I've just mentioned now, if it's clear to you, go to the chart and type 1. All right. You see now, responses became better because I've asked you to go get a car. What food can do in this life? Come on. Okay, so let's go. Cell referencing. In Excel, we have, it could be 3. So you read some text, they say you have 3 references. In some texts, they say you have 4 references. But let's take the 4. So we have what is called relative referencing. But let me just say relative. So I don't have to be typing everything. So we have relative, we have absolute, okay? We have row constant, we have column constant. We have these 4 kinds of cell referencing. Whichever one you use here will tell Excel how you want it to treat the underlying cells. The one that we've just exemplified, that is relative referencing, which is if I move right, if I move the result right, you want the underlying references to also move accordingly. If you move the results down, you also want the underlying references to move downwards. So which means it's a free market economy. You can move however you want to move. That is relative referencing. So for relative references, you see the reference to be something like C4. When you see something like C4 as a cell reference or as an address to a particular cell, it might be C4, it might be Z10, it might be AD25. The letter doesn't matter, the number doesn't matter. But the point is, if you see anything in the structure, that tells you that the cell is free to move. So if you move the result, expect that the underlying cells would go along with it. Absolute reference. For absolute reference, we have, this is when you do not want the underlying cells to move at all, even when you shift or you push the calculation to neighboring cells. Let's go here. So I'm going to turn this to, let me turn this guys to salaries quickly. So let's say we have employees and we have salaries. So, okay. Then we have A, B, C. Someone will say this guy. Now only salary they use to example. Yes, bro. Why am I working? So I can do something like this. So do this, do this. Okay. So now, let's say these are the salaries for our employees. And then the management saying that, oh, you guys have performed so well this year, so we want to increase everybody's salary by, let's say, 10% is a lot. Too. Which company will give you 10%? Want to increase everyone's salary by 8%. 8% here. Now, we need to get people's percentage or maybe increment. Let's call it increment. How much increase would each of our employees get if we are increasing their salaries by 8%? If I come here, I do equal to, I pick this salary and I multiply it by 8%. I hit enter, this gives 255. But as soon as I push this down, there will be a problem. Why is there a problem? You already know the reason. It's because at this point, the reference, as soon as I push the formula downward, a cell downwards, then you notice that the reference to all of the underlying cells also moved downward. So instead of referencing the salary for Mr. A, it now references the salary for Mr. B, which is a cell downwards, good. And then the percentage we are multiplying by has also now moved a cell downward, and nothing is here. So that's why we get back a 0. Nothing is 0 actually. All right. So how do we ensure that all of our salaries are looking at this cell? That is when we now need to use absolute referencing on this cell. We need to ensure that however we go, the reference to this cell never changes. So I'm going to come back here, rewrite this calculation. I'll come here, I do equal to, pick this guy, multiply the guy by our percentage. But before I leave the percentage, I'm going to press F4. So when I press F4, you see now that for some of you, you might need to use FN, F4, those of you that are using entertainment laptop. But if you're using the normal IT standard laptop, your F4 should give you this dollar signs behind the F and behind the 2. When you have a dollar sign behind the column, remember the letter is the column, and a dollar sign behind the number, which is the row, you have done an absolute referencing, which is another way that people will say you have locked the cell. So you locked the cell by saying that when I move, yes, C5 can change to C6 because I want this salary to now be this, to now be this, to now be this. But F2 should remain F2 because I only want to be able to reference this cell as I push down my calculation. So I hit enter here. This works. I go some cells downward, Control D, and then I have, you see that for all of them, they reference the correct cell relative to the salaries, and then they reference the same cell relative to the percentage. So the kind of referencing that ensures that if you copy a formula downward to the left, to the right, however you go, it always references a particular cell. That is the absolute referencing. So absolute referencing would be of something like $C, $4. That's an absolute reference, which is lock it in place, no movement at all, stay there till eternity. If it makes sense to you, go on the chart and type free. All right. Then the last two, what you will notice here is that if I add these salaries, if I add them like this, excuse me, this, I do something like this. If I add the salaries like this, which means the salaries are listed left to right, and then I come here, I still do something like pick this guy, multiply it by this, look it up, enter. I push it to the right. It still works. Why does it? Because I'm using an absolute referencing, which means if I go top to bottom, or I go left to right, I still see this cell as a cell that I want to always reference. But what if I only want to be able to reference a particular cell in one direction? If I'm pulling down the formula top to bottom, I want it to reference a particular cell. But when I go left to right, I want it to reference another cell instead. Let me give you an example quickly. So for this, I'm just going to do something like this. Let me clean up this, guys. So instead of this being, I'll call this target. 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 And then this will be like month. And then this will be Jan. And just going to pull this down like so. So we have the months and we have the target. So we have, let me just turn this, guys, to something like this. If I do this, so we have the different months here and we have the targets down below. Now, new target. We want to increase the target for our sales team by 70%. Literally, we want some of them to resign because we know that even some of them are struggling to meet this target, but now want to increase it by 70%. So it's a way to say that bro and sis, or Miss Colin, how do we do that? But again, at the same time, we don't want to fix the target on a particular number. We want it to revolve around certain ranges because we know that for some periods we have, sales, the way sales happen is not the same across periods, especially if you're dealing in a seasonal product kind of. So we want this to reflect that. So I'm going to bring this guy here. So for January, we know that people will buy a lot of what we sell. But for some other months, we know that it might not really be as that. So I'm just going to do something like this. Run the array. And then I do this. Nope. So let me do rand. Okay, yeah, it gives me something between 0 and 1. Yep. So now we have this. For January, the percentage is 17%. We want to increase the target in January by 17%. For February, we want to increase it by 90%. Okay. For March, maybe we are selling, assuming we are selling cakes, right? I think this might make sense. So you know what happens in February and why people will buy cakes. Then in March, 19%, April, 71%, and May, 80%. I'm going to fix these numbers. So I'm just going to do something like this. If I come here now and I pick this target and I say multiply the target by this percentage and I fix it, F4, enter, I get this. If I push this to the right, what would you notice here? you would see that for every single cell, so let me help you with that. Formula text, pick out this, and then do this. You notice that for every single cell that we've got here, for every single cell that we've multiplied with, is referencing G2, which means it's only using January's, what's it called? January's target. But what we want is that we want it to be that when we pull the formula to the right, January changes to February, to March, to April, and to May. How do we do that? It's pretty simple. So what we're going to do is do something like this. Equal to, I pick the target, I'll multiply it by this guy. I could actually leave it free because I know that when I push it to the right, I want it to all go to the right. So I do this. Then I push the formula to the right, it all works correctly. But where we will begin to have a challenge is this. Let's say now this is for an employee, Shale. That's for Shale. Then we have another employee who is Tosin. We have these two employees. I just bring this a step downward or a few steps downward, and then this is the current target for Shale. Then for Tosin, I'm just going to extrapolate on this to say that pick whatever number is here and add something here. Add something between minus 50 and 50. So I push this guy to the right, like so. So now this is for Tosin. So this is for Tosin here. How do we now get Tosin's target? If I just do something like this, because I've calculated it for Sheung and I think it's correct, if I just pull this guy down one step and I push it to the right like so, you see that I'm getting zeros for Tosin. Why am I getting zeros for Tosin? This is because of what you already learned. So if I double click for Tosin, it's picking Tosin's current target, but now multiplying by nothing. That's the problem. So how do we ensure that when we write our calculation, when we push the calculation to the right, it picks the percentages correctly for the month, but when we push the calculation downwards, it stays on the percentage and it doesn't change the reference from 17 to a blank. That is when we need one of row constant or column constant. When we say column constant, it means that you want the columns to be constant in the sense that when we push the formula to the right, the formula should still reference the particular column that we are sitting on, and the columns should not change. When we say row constant, it means that we want to keep referencing a row and we don't want that to shift downwards. For our case, because the row 2 is what has all our percentages, so we don't want it to shift to row 3 so as not to get a blank. We are going to use a row constant, so we lock the row and the column is going to be free because we want it to reference the target numbers correctly. So let's do that in one go. I do equal to, I pick the number for Shale, I multiply this by the percentage. What do I want? If I do F4, it locks both, which is not what I want, because I want this percentage to shift to the February percentage when I go to the right. So I go again, F4 again. So that now leaves me with the column G to be free. And because column G no longer has a dollar sign, it means G is free. So when I take the formula to the right, G becomes H can become I can become J. But I have a dollar sign behind 2. It means that row 2 is locked. So when I copy down my formula, it will always reference row 2 and 2 will never become 3. This is what I want. So this is a row constant. I hit enter. I go to the right, Control R. I go down, Control D. And we are done. If what I've done now feels to you like you should leave the class, please type 0. Okay, nobody's typing 0. Super. If what I've done now is slightly clear to you, please type 1. Okay, so it's a mix. It's expected. So let's understand this together. All right, so let's go. What do you want to achieve? What we want to achieve is simple. These are the reference cells. And this reference cells, because it's not a single cell, what that tells you is that the cells are tied to the month. For January, we want to use 17%. For February, we want to use 90%. March, 19%. April, 71%. May, 80%. That's what we want to use. But the challenge is that we don't have an issue really when we want to push our formula to the right, because you know that as soon as you write a formula here and you copy it to the right, all the references will shift to the right accordingly. So it's going to pick all of the percentages correctly. But where you would have a challenge is when you now copy the formula downwards. When you naturally copy the formula downwards, this reference to the cell that has the percentages will also shift downwards accordingly. And we don't want that to happen. And that is why we need to think through this to say that what is the best way to manage this scenario such that when we copy the formula to the right, everything changes to the right. But when we copy the formula downwards, it stays fixed. When you go to the right, you are going across different columns. So you need to leave the column to be free. When you go downwards, you are going in rows. So you need to make the row fixed because you don't want the rows to change, but you want the columns to change, if you understand what I mean. So that's why I come here, I do equal to. Nope. I pick Sean's figure here, multiplied by this percentage. If you toggle F4 first time, you get an absolute reference. That's not what we want. If you toggle it second time, you get a row constant, which means only your row is locked. You see that, you notice now that the column is free because there is no dollar sign behind the column reference. That's G. If I toggle it again, now the dollar sign comes behind G and 2 is now free. So which means row is free. When you pull the formula down, it's going to change. Reference will change across the rows, but would not change over the columns. If I do again, I get back to where I started from. So you can actually toggle your F4 4 times. The first time would give you absolute reference. Second time, it gives you row constant. Third time, column constant. Fourth time, you get back a relative reference. Which one are we supposed to use? You ask yourself, do I want the reference to change across the columns? For our case, yes. So we need to leave the column open. Do I want the reference to change over the rows? No. So I need to I need to ensure that the row is locked. So I have G$2. Not having a dollar sign behind G tells you that column is free. So G will become H when you push your formula to the right. Having a dollar sign behind 2 tells you that the row is fixed. So 2 would never become 3. Hit enter here, take it to the right, Control R, take it down, Control D, and we are done. Clear to you now, I believe. So everybody confirm that on the chart by typing a 5. Excellent. Now you understand, you are clear on what cell referencing means. So let's go now. Let's go and apply it. Knowledge is about application. You can know it in books, you can pass exams, but when you're asked to come and apply it in the industry, now say that our lecturer did not teach us well. Bro, but you had a first class. How did that happen? So let's come here. Let's do our lookup again. Equal to VLOOKUP. Grade level, that is the lookup value. Put a comma. Table array. Now, when I select my table array, what kind of referencing am I to use for the table array? What kind of referencing? Absolute, relative, column constant, row constant. What kind of referencing am I to use for the table array? Remember, the table array was the one causing that issue. Now the guy knows stay one place, he just a shift around. Excellent. We use an absolute reference. So I'm going to press F4. And you see that everything that pertains to the table array is now fixed. I put a comma now to return the basic salary, comma, do an exact match, close the bracket, hit enter. We get this first guy. I can now confidently push everything down and you no longer have any's. So that problem is solved. So all of the issues, all of the challenges that you mentioned yesterday, when you copy the formula down, the next one is wrong, this one is wrong, this one is correct. That is the solution, my brother, my sister. So it's about cell referencing. And I'm sure you are very clear about that now, which is when you push the formula down, something changed on the references. And that's why you go back NA or you started getting some wrong results. So now you'll be able to now apply your knowledge now to go and fix all of the problems that you left yesterday for me to fix for you. I'm not going to fix that. Everybody will bear their. Thanks, people. You're welcome. Okay. Let's go now. But remember, if we want to get the housing salary, if I want to get the housing salary, I already wrote it for basic. If I want to get the housing salary, the housing allowance, I do Control R. I get any what's up. Someone should tell me what's wrong. Tell me, and let me see if I can wire you some Akara balls. Just tell me, straight up. What's wrong? Uncle Solomon, don't lose focus, concentrate. What I just did with the NA that you see on the housing is I did a Control R to copy the formula for basic to the right, but I go back NA. What is the problem? Uncle Friday, you see now, people they use Yahoo Yahoo. You say reference. I know it's a reference, but tell me what exactly is the problem? No wala, sir. You can excuse yourself. Please catch up with the recording. Networking and Dama. Hey, sorry. I understand. No wala, no wala. Thanks, man. See you. Someone slept off in class. Uncle Shil. Sorry. Lagos stress, I can understand. Ekpele. Because housing and basic are not on the same column. Oh well. I should do it again. The cell is not referenced. How? The column referencing wasn't used. How? We picked two, you and who. It was referenced with absolutes. You need to unlock the referencing. Okay. Don't guess. Understand what's happening. I've done this for you. So look at this formula. I'm sure you're clear what's happening. Then for housing, look at this. So what do you notice? What do you notice? The column number should be 3, not 2. Not necessarily. If I make this 3, it still will not solve it. No. You're not paying attention to what I want you to see. What is the lookup value that I'm using here to fetch the housing? What's the lookup value that it's using? I should click on the first column. Look at this. For basic, what is the lookup value? For basic, what's the lookup value that it's using? It's using F14. Now, for housing, what's the lookup value? Excellent. Janet is selecting basic instead of grade level. Why is it doing that? Because the reference that I use for the grade level is not locked in any way. So immediately I copied the formula to the right, F14 changed to G14. And you know the reason, right, people? Do you? You know why that happened, right? Excellent. It's not locked. It's free. It's relative. It can move. So what we need to do is, if we plan to shift our formulas to the right, we need to sort of ensure that the lookup value remains column F. So let's rewrite. So I come here, equal to VLOOKUP. This is the lookup value. So what kind of referencing? What should I lock here? Should I lock both F and 14, or lock just F, or lock just 14? What am I supposed to lock? Just F, just 14, both F and 14. Okay, some people said both. Think about it. If I lock both F and 14, what that will mean is when I push the formula down, it will still be using semi-senior. You don't want that to happen. So we're going to lock just F so that when we copy the formula to the right, the reference to column F will not change. But when we copy the formula downwards, F14 will become F15 and like that, if you understand what I mean. So I'm going to do F4 here. Now, just so 3 times so that it locks just F and 14 is free, comma, let me select my table array. And then I lock the entire table array. I use a 2 here, 0. I get this guy. I copy this down. This is fine. Let's go to the right. Let's see. We go back the same thing. No longer NA, but we got the same result. So what is wrong this time? What is wrong this time? Someone mentioned it earlier. Column number, column index number. Excellent. We are still asking it to return column 2, which is for basic. But now we need housing, so which is 3. So I can come here and I say that this is 3. And now this is going to be correct. We got back the correct thing now. Yeah? Biggest daddy, your brain don't blow, okay? Please don't allow it to. You need it for the remaining part of the class. Once we change that to 3, this is going to be correct. If I want transport, Control R, I just need to come here, change this to 4, and this gives me the transport. If it's clear to you up to this point, type 6 on the chart. Making us scatter now, bro, I beg. Okay, interesting. But we want to use Excel. We don't want Excel to use us. Say to yourself, I will use Excel. Excel will not use me. All right. If we would continue this way, it means we need to keep coming in here to manually change the reference, the column index num, so that I can pick the accuracy number. Imagine you now have like 20 columns. You don't want to start going from one column to the other to the other. That is why Excel can help you. We can use Excel to determine what should be the column index number. Once you use Excel to determine what the column index number is supposed to be, then the entire problem is solved. So come here now. Let's do something first. If I want to know the position of basic in these headers, I want to know the position of basic in the headers for the table array. What function would I use? You learned it yesterday. What function would I use? I want to know the position of basic in the headers. What function would I use? Thank you, Moses. You use the match function. Good. So let's use the match function. So if I come here, equal to match, what am I matching? I'm matching basic. I want to check it in this headers. So I light the entire headers, I lock it, F4, comma, 0, do an exact match, close the bracket, hit enter. This tells me that basic is not there, which is not possible. So let me see, maybe they are not written the same way. So I'm just gonna, if I copy this and I paste it here, yeah, they are not written the same way, that's why. So you see now that it returned 2, which means it found basic as the second thing, the second item on that list. If I copy this guy to the right, you see that for housing, it returned a 3. For transport, it returned a 4. Once we have this, the entire problem is solved, which is, can we then use the match function that actually returned a 2, a 3, a 4? Can we use it in place of the column index num itself, so that would dynamically pick the location of each function, each column, and match it exactly with what we are looking for it to return on the table array, and that solves the entire problem. So we only have to write the calculation once and everything gets solved. So let's attempt it. For this part, some of you, after writing this, you might decide that I think I need to go to bed. So I do equal to VLOOKUP. Lookup value, semi-senior. I do F4, F4 again, F4 again to log just the column because I want it to always refer to the column, comma, table array. So I'm going to highlight the entire table, lock it in place, comma. Now for the column index norm, that's where I would introduce the match. So the match would come in here. What am I matching? I'm matching the basic, which is sort of behind the calculation here. I'm matching the basic. But again, when I pull down the formula, I don't want that reference to basic to change. I want it to always refer to basic, but I want it to move across the column. So I'm going to lock the row for this guy, comma, the lookup array. The lookup array will be this entire column header. I lock it in place, comma 0. I close the bracket for match, comma 0 for VLOOKUP, close the bracket. I hit enter. Someone is already laughing. I push this guy down, Control D, everything is correct. I go to the right, Control R, and voila, we have the result. So we wrote the calculation once in one cell and we used it to populate all the columns, and I can bet you that what you see is correct for everything. Even the error that you see here is still correct. If you still feel like we should continue, on the chart, type 11. If we should stop here, type 12. The people that will type 12, they are the ones I want to see. I can see Adishola. I caught you. You type 12. I want to report to the headmaster's office. Those of you that are typing 12, let me be truthful. We cannot stop here, actually. Your head will carry it. Say my head will carry it. Okay. I'll do it again. But first, someone should tell me why gross pay returned NA. I'll do it again. Don't worry. I know it's possible that you didn't get it at first. I know. But tell me why gross pay returned NA. Fisayo, because gross pay is not part of how. Exactly. Thanks for that, Gbemisola. If you look at the heading here, it says gross pay, but on the table array we have gross. Gross and gross pay, they are not the same. So if I pick gross, I just copy it and I paste it over gross pay. What do you see? Immediately we go back the result. So that was the mismatch that caused it to return NA. So Excel was not wrong. You should check what you're doing. Excel is a machine. So it's garbage in, garbage out. If you feed it with wrong input, you get back wrong output. So let's do it again. So I'm going to do something like this. Equal to VLOOKUP. Look for this guy, but I know I will copy the formula to the right, and I want the reference to the grade level column to remain. So I'm going to lock column F, comma. Let me select the table array, and then I lock it in place, comma. Then for the column index norm, now I want to bring the match in so that I can dynamically pick the columns that would be returned. So I do a match here. What am I matching? I'm checking for the column headers, but I know that I'm going to copy the formula downwards, so I'll need to lock the rows so that the row reference doesn't change. So I'll lock the row like this. I put a comma. Then for the lookup array, I'm looking for basic in these headers. So I will highlight the headers, and then I would lock it in place, comma 0. That's an exact match. I close the bracket, so I'm done for match. I put a comma. The type of lookup I want to do for the VLOOKUP is an exact match. I put a 0 as well. I close the bracket. I hit enter. So this says what we get. I can copy this to the right, Control R, can push this downwards, Control D, and everything just works. And when we say that a formula is dynamic, what it means is that if we ever decide that, okay, this first column should no longer be basic, this should be gross pay. If I just type gross here, I hit enter, you see now that it's dynamic and it just picks the values accordingly. So that's what it means for a formula to be dynamic. So when you change certain input parameters, your formula responds and it returns the output accurately for you. So you want the formula, so I'm gonna put that on the chart for you. Okay. Clear to you now or not clear still? Yes, that's flexibility. We move, Emmanuel. Where they go? What can we use other than F4 for the dollar sign? You can manually type the dollar sign there. You don't have to, if your F4 is not working and you tried F and F4, it's okay and it's not working. Just go behind the letter, put a dollar sign. If you want to lock the letter, if you want to lock the row, go behind it and put a dollar sign there. So it works the same way. Yeah, you might need to. You might need to. Okay. If you've learned anything today, like you've learned something today, whether clear or not, type 14 on the chart for me. Okay, good. Now, For VLOOKUP, we've done the VLOOKUP, but let's say that you have a grade level, one of the grade level changed, and now instead of semi-senior, we changed it to senior, like this. When we changed this to senior, you notice that we got back NAs. Why did we get NA? Because there is nothing like senior on our grade level. It's either semi-senior or senior 1, senior 2, and senior 3. How do we salvage a case like this? There are a couple of ways. So in Excel, there are a number of errors that you can get. You can get an NA error. You can get a, let's come here. So you can get an error like this, NA as an error. You can get a hash num error. You can get a hash value error. You can get what again? We see them as we progress. But depending on the kind of error that you get, you may write a condition in Excel that checks if something returns an NA. Speed is not an error. So you may write a condition in Excel to check if your calculation returns NA as an error. If I do equal to if NA, you see that we have if NA as a function. What does it do? It says that it returns the value you specify. Yes, referral, correct. Returns the value you specify if the expression resolves to NA. Otherwise, returns the result of the expression. So, which is more like saying, if I do any calculation in Excel and Excel returns NA, you want to write a condition around it to change the NA. Instead of it returning NA, you want it to return something else. Otherwise, if it's any other kind of error, you can just go with the if error function. So if error would cater to any kind of error in Excel, but if you just want to be specific to say that you want to return NA, you want to return something else if the error is NA, then you can use the if NA function. So what we can do here is to come here to our calculation. We make it error proof by coming to the start here and say, if this calculation ever returns an error, you should return a blank. Like this. I hit enter, and now you see that this returns a blank for every single instance that we have an NA. So that is how you can cater for whatever errors that will come from your VLOOKUP. But this shortcoming of the VLOOKUP, that when the VLOOKUP returns an error, VLOOKUP is not able by itself to cater to that error. VLOOKUP doesn't have an alternative to manage errors. So you need to write another function that will now, that you wrap around the VLOOKUP to say that if it ever returns an error, you want it to return something else. Otherwise, it should return the actual value, which is why you need the elder brother of VLOOKUP, which is called Mr. XLOOKUP. So let's do XLOOKUP quickly. Make sure you watch the recording of the session. Otherwise, so I come here. Equal to XLOOKUP. Equal to XLOOKUP. What is the lookup value? It's the same thing that we've been doing. This is the lookup value. I'll still lock as usual, like this. XLOOKUP now is asking for the lookup array. XLOOKUP is asking for the lookup array. The lookup array, remember, is different from table array. Table array is the entire table that has both the lookup value and the result you want. Lookup array is just the array that holds the lookup value. Return array is that which holds the result that you want to get back. So if I come here, I'll just do something very simple so you understand how XLOOKUP works. Where will I find the lookup value here? I'm going to find it here. So this is my lookup array. I'll lock it, comma. What is the return array? I want to return basic. So I'm going to lock this as well. But what we want to use in the XLOOKUP is that XLOOKUP has, after the regular argument, XLOOKUP now has an argument for if not found. If after searching based on the lookup value that you provided and where you've asked me to search, if it ever happens that I don't find what you want, what do you want me to return? You can now say that return dosing. And you can ignore every other thing for now. So I close the bracket, I hit enter. And now if you look at what we get here, you see that because we do not have senior on that table, XLOOKUP returned tosin. If I change this back to semi-senior, we get back the number. So that is the dynamism that XLOOKUP brings to the table over what the old legend VLOOKUP does not have. There's still a lot more things we can do with lookups, but I think we should stop here. How was the class tonight for you? Because we have ended, so how was? Describe it with whatever adjective. Tough, massive, okay, challenging. May the brain no blow a beg. I see the beg on here. Advanced, a bit tough. The class carry paper full of discoveries. Okay, tough. Okay. What's advanced? It's still not advanced yet, too, bro? Yeah, but again, the idea is we want to open your minds to possibilities. We want to show you what's possible so that you don't limit yourself. Yeah, that's the idea. All right. Let me have you ask your questions. So ask your questions now so we can close. Yeah, that's the idea. Tech awesome. That's the idea. Okpeyemi, what's your response to your question? Olashupo, don't worry. Your head must carry it. Questions? Yeah, it needs you to practice a lot more, actually. The more you practice, the better you get at it. But always put your mind at you understanding what you want to achieve first and working through your ways. If you don't understand what you want to achieve, you will end up memorizing all the formula. And that's a personal reason why normally I wouldn't have been pasting the formulas on the chart, because I don't want you to memorize it. So I want you to be able to watch the recording, understand what I've done in the class, and you use that to work your own solutions. But out of magnanimity, I shared, yeah, why not? But please don't memorize. Try to understand, even if it requires you to watch each section. You don't need to watch 2 hours. We are not working non-stop for 2 hours. So some 10 minutes, some 15 minutes, some 20 minutes, just put it on replay, watch it about 5-10 times. You get the gist. Yeah. Is there any advantage of XLOOKUP over VLOOKUP? We've just seen one advantage of it. So which is XLOOKUP allows for the management of errors. So if your lookup will return an error, XLOOKUP is able to make up for it. You don't need another function to make up for that. You have used different formula. If asked to solve this problem, which actual formula is required? All the ones that I've used. You have options. Why is it not working on your system? I didn't expect you to copy and paste actually. Rewrite it yourself. Can I drag down the formula? Why do you want me to drag down? So this is what you want to see. Okay. Yeah, you need to rewatch. Questions, people. What happens if you delete or move a cell that is being referenced in a formula? You get an error. I got the right value for the first employee, but when I drag down, other cells are the same value as you didn't do something right. Check again. How can we apply this skills of formula? Is there any example? These are enough examples. So depending on the data set that you have, which is a typical thing, you have your data scattered everywhere and you need to pull in something from somewhere. So that's the idea for lookup. So this that I've done is real life. It's a real life case study. We just translates to some of the cases you might be faced with if you ever have to work with data in the corporate environment. Using XLOOKUP, can we still make use of match? Yes, you can. And you also have XMatch, which does the same thing as match actually. They do the same thing. So if you understand how to use match, you already know how to use XMatch. You try the formula on leave column, but you got housing figures on leave. Troubleshoot your formula. You have referenced something wrongly. What is the difference between VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP? VLOOKUP is vertical lookup, HLOOKUP is horizontal lookup. There's no error, bro. There's no error. Don't worry. I don't need to drag down to know if there's error. What I wrote, there's no error. Yeah, Gbemisola. More questions, more questions. Oma, why are you laughing? Do we need to follow all the process we followed in lookup while doing XLOOKUP? That question is not clear. You remove cap from me. I beg, return your cap. Thank you. Do we lock cells only when it has to do with numbers when using VLOOKUP? It means you don't understand locking yet. So please rewatch the part where I explain cell referencing. There is virtually nothing or anything you can lock because what you are locking is not the content of the cell. What you are locking itself is the cell. So you need to understand that concept properly. Adebowale, you see now, you see? Questions. When are you sending the Akara money? Send me the receipt first. Thank you, Adeshola. Only one person has told me thank you tonight. Come on. Can we complete the table using XLOOKUP? Yes, you can. In the next, since there is still time, no, there's no time again. I've closed already. I'm taking questions. But you can complete it actually. Complete it as an assignment, lay your hand on it. It's the same idea. Yeah. Can cell referencing work with other functions like aggregation? I already answered it. Cell referencing is about the cell. It's not tied to values. It's not tied to function. So it's about the cell. So if you think through properly what you want to achieve, how you want to push your formula to the right, to the left, to the center, however, do you need the cells to move accordingly? That's what cell referencing is about. Why is cell referencing so important? You cannot be an advanced user of Excel if you don't know it. And if you ever have to interview with me, be sure that I'll ask you something around cell referencing. If you don't know it and if it's an Excel related role, sorry, we won't take you. On the scale of 1 to 10 with the Excel download on our heads, please rate. I cannot rate what is on your head now. Because I don't know what is on your head. So it's for me. It's what I know that I will tell. So if you ask me to rate myself on a scale of 1 to 10 in Excel, I probably will say I'm a 3. My money, the woman still they send me receipts, bro. Just send the receipt to me, and the receipt must have the narration there should be that you bought akara 100 naira. Then I'll transfer your funds to you. Questions, questions, questions. I think we do not have more questions. So thank you, people. Make sure you go over this again if you really need to. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. We catch again tomorrow by God's grace. Have a good night.